I'm Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. On today's video, we're on the FM3, and I want to show you one of my favorite ambient style tones that you can create with a delay block. Before we do that, I'm just going to set up a really basic clean sound on here. I'm plugging my 1979 ES335 TD, which has the stock T-top pickups in it, straight into the FM3. And then you're hearing the DI output of the FM3. I've got the ODS 100 clean set up at the moment. You can see I've just turned the bass down a little bit. The presence is at 3, and I've kind of turned all the other controls up somewhere around 7 or 8 on there. I have paired this with the 4x12 Rumble EV12 Dynacabs on here. So based on a 4x12 Dumble cab with some really high-powered EV speakers in there. These sound super smooth and clean, and this is just a great combination and one of my favorite clean tones on any of the Fractal devices. Super sweet. Let's get started by setting up a really long delay, and I'm going to use the mono tape delay for this. This is really important because the mono tape has a motor speed parameter, which we're going to attach a modifier to in just a little bit. So before we do that, I've set this up to be a half note tempo subdivision. The current tempo is 120 BPM, so that's going to give us a 1 second delay on here. If I tapped in a faster tempo, the delay would be faster. If I tapped in a slower tempo, I'd have a longer delay time on there. I haven't added anything from the second playback head on here. Mix is at 50%. At the moment, I can just use this to do some kind of sound on sound looping style playing. That's already pretty fun as it is, and you can get lost just playing with the echoes on there, playing around with the phrases you're playing, adding some chords underneath there. It's kind of like having a looper that has a really nice natural decay on there. And the stock EQ settings on the mono tape are quite bandwidth limited on there, so it's not going to clash too much with your core delay sound. There is also some modulation happening in there by default. I think this sounds fantastic. The really interesting control here is the motor speed. So this is modeling the physical motor that you would have in an old tape echo machine. So an old tape echo would use a reel of tape, and basically the speed that the tape is going around and recording on is going to determine your delay or your echo time on there. So what's really fun with this is if we play a phrase in here and then we change the motor speed, it's going to play back slower, and on an analog tape echo that will actually translate to the tone being played back being pitch shifted. So if I was to take the motor speed from 1 down to 0.5, I'm going to have an octave style effect. Check this out. Now we could automate this process by attaching a modifier to the motor speed. So I'm going to right click this parameter here in FM3 Edit, and I'm going to come up and select LFO 1A over there. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to set the maximum on here to 1. So this is going to sweep me from half speed to normal speed on there. Again, that will give me an octave up or octave down effect depending on where I'm at. Now, the stock LFO on here is a sine wave LFO. So this is kind of going to give me the effect of cranking the motor speed up and down continuously on there. And you can see I can set the rate on here. What I'm going to do for now is I'm going to set the tempo to be, let's go for a half note dotted over here, just so it's not the same as our chord delay tone over here. Now, it's going to sound a little bit wobbly and maybe a bit seasick at the moment. I mean, that's a fun effect, but I get sick of it pretty quickly. What I would like is to discretely snap from a value of 1 back to 0.5. So to do that, I'm going to select a different LFO type over here. I'm actually going to select the square wave LFO. So this is going to discretely pop between those two values on there. Let's have a listen to this now with those settings, with the motor speed snapping from 0.5 to 1. Now, I'd encourage you to play around with the core delay time by changing the tempo, as well as playing around with the subdivision that you're using over here. I mean, if we went for, say, a dotted quarter note instead, something faster, and if I gave head 1 a little bit more feedback, let's say take that to 50%, this is what I get. Let's really expand upon this now and make it sound truly epic. I'm going to add a ping pong delay after my pitch shifted tape delay on there, just for some extra ambience and spread. And then I'm going to use the Stratocumulus reverb with a mix up around 40%. Furthermore, we could bring in the second head on the monotape echo and have 2 delay heads in there. So I'll play a little bit, then I'm going to add the second head, and I'm going to pan head 1 and head 2 hard left and hard right. This one sounds pretty amazing. have some fun experimenting with this approach on your Fractal device. Let me know any questions in the comments section below and have some fun noodling around with this one. I will see you all next week for another Tuesday Tone Tip. Cheers.